So, here it is, the big claim from Elon Musk himself. He's not talking about a decade from now or 50 years. He's talking about the next 30 to 36 months. I mean, that is an incredibly bold timeline, right? It raises a huge question. So, is this for real? Is it just some wild sci-fi fantasy, or is there some actual step-by-step logic behind it? Well, that's what we're here to unpack. And you know what? It all kicks off with a massive, massive problem that AI is running into right here on Earth. And that problem, in a word, is power. You see, AI is on this incredible upward curve, but it's on a collision course with a fundamental physical limit, just how much electricity we can actually generate here on our planet. Just look at this chart. The disconnect it's just staggering. The demand for AI compute, it's exploding, going exponential. But the growth of our electrical grids, and this is outside of China, well, it's basically flat. It's like trying to fuel a rocket ship with a garden hose. It just doesn't work. Something has to give. And this quote really gets to the heart of the matter. This isn't a software bug you can just patch over. This is a hardware problem. It's about physical stuff, real-world infrastructure. And that hardware, it has some very real, very frustrating bottlenecks. I mean, think about it. You can't just snap your fingers and get a new power plant. You've got to get permits, which takes forever. You're looking at year-long studies from the utility companies just to connect to the grid. Critical parts, things like gas turbines, they're sold out for years. And even if you say, okay, let's go solar, well, you're hit with massive tariffs and the huge challenge of finding enough land for these giant solar farms. So here's the bottom line. This is where the rubber meets the road. The power deficit is getting so bad that soon we could literally have brand new, super powerful AI chips just piling up in warehouses collecting dust because we just won't have the electricity to turn them on. Okay, so if Earth is the problem, where's the solution? Well, according to this argument, the answer isn't on the ground at all. It's up there, in the sky. And this is why space is so compelling. It basically solves all the big inefficiencies of solar power here on Earth. Think about it. Up in orbit, there's no night, no clouds, no weather to worry about. You don't lose a third of the sun's energy just punching through the atmosphere. And here's the real kicker. With constant 24/7 sunlight, you don't need these massive, incredibly expensive battery farms to store power for nighttime. So when you add all that up, the numbers are just kind of mind-blowing. A solar panel in space is about 5 times more effective than the same panel on the ground. And when you factor in not needing all those batteries, the energy becomes roughly 10 times cheaper. 10 times. Okay, so the physics makes sense. Cheaper, more abundant power. But how in the world do you actually build something like this? We're talking about an industrial scale-up that is just unlike anything humanity has ever even tried to do before. It really comes down to 3 key pillars, and they all have to scale up in perfect sync. First, you need a way to get a ton of mass to orbit, which means a fully reusable rocket fleet. Second, you need to be able to generate all that power, so mass production of space-grade solar cells. And third, you need the compute itself, a new generation of massive chip factories. All 3 of these supply chains have to move together, like clockwork. So let's put some numbers on this. First up, launch cadence. The target is, get this, 10,000 Starship launches per year. 10,000! That's a rocket launching almost every single hour, 24/7, 365 days a year. Next up, power. To keep up with that insane launch rate, you need to be manufacturing 100 gigawatts of solar cells, not in total, every single year. And finally, compute. You guessed it, you have to match that power generation with 100 gigawatts worth of AI chip manufacturing, also each and every year. The entire industrial machine has to operate in lockstep at this just mind-boggling scale. To even have a shot at making that many chips, we're going to need a whole new kind of factory. So, forget gigafabs. The new term is terafabs, a new generation of manufacturing that's just orders of magnitude larger than anything we have on the planet today. All right, so let's take a deep breath and assume this incredible industrial feat is actually possible. Where does all of this lead? What's the ultimate goal here? Why build an AI infrastructure on this kind of cosmic scale? Well, the predicted timeline is just breathtaking. Within 3 years, the theory goes, space becomes the cheapest place for AI compute. Within 5 years, we'll be launching more AI compute into space every year than exists on all of Earth combined right now. And then, just a year or two after that, total AI intelligence is projected to surpass the combined intelligence of all of humanity. Just let that sink in for a second.
So, this really leads to the ultimate question, doesn't it? This isn't just about building cheaper data centers in orbit. What is the endgame for civilization with a project this monumental? The endgame, as it's been described, is about leveling up as a species. It's about climbing something called the Kardashev scale, which is this way of ranking civilizations by how much energy they can harness. The goal is to become a civilization that can capture and actually use a non-trivial chunk of our sun's total energy output. And this is really important. This isn't just about making humans smarter. It's about creating something entirely new and vastly larger. The vision is for a future where biological intelligence, that's us, is just a tiny, tiny spark in a massive silicon-based consciousness. And so this whole grand engineering plan brings us to a final, really profound question. If we are genuinely on the verge of creating an intelligence that will far, far surpass our own, what should our goal for civilization even be? How do we make sure that future is a good one we actually want to live in? That's the challenge this whole vision leaves us to think about.